Hey everybody, welcome back to the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. I'm your host, GordoGambles, and welcome back to the Prop Drop, back here on the Plays and Fades YouTube channel to break down this time a absolutely beautiful slate in UFC 276. If you guys have been following me for a while on the channel, you'll know I'm excited for this one just off of name value. We got my boy Holloway up top, Adesanya defending his belt once again, but this is a really fun slate, and for such a big, exciting slate, I had to get one of the DFS GOATs on, an absolute legend in the community. I've been on his channel a few times, and you've seen him on mine a few times as well, but the first time going live on this channel. But without further ado, let's say what's up to DFS Whisperer EAZY. Welcome to the Plays and Fades YouTube channel.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me. That's a big name right there, DFS GOAT.
For sure, man. And you know what? It's even better because I go on and do this show. I can give out a Thrive code for people to use, but we got the prize pick, man. You're wearing the shirt and stuff. You're ready to go.
Yep,
So
got the
we can give
prize.
you out your promo code as well. So that's perfect. But yeah, as always, we're going to go over our favorite targets on Thrive, Underdog, and Draft. Oh, no. And Prize Picks. Following up with maybe a little bit of draft. Yeah, let's do a little bit of drafting just
Yeah,
because I
we'll
know
do
you're
a
on the
little
show
bit
and
of
I know you know
DraftKings
you're.
at the end. Show
Yeah, and if
love
you
to
guys,
everyone.
for sure. And if you guys know what I do, I run the Ironman every year, and you're just a point behind. You're catching up to me. I don't know what it is, man. You're
Hey,
scaring me behind me. But Easy
uh,
definitely knows what he's talking about. So I appreciate you for coming on. Quickly, before we hop into it, Thrive Fantasy has a 10K guarantee this week in the UFC contest. So I'll be going to make sure to cover that last. There's a lot of spots I like there. But if you go over there and you want to use and you want to play Thrive Fantasy, make sure you use code Gordo. I will definitely have a couple entries in myself because it's going to be a very fun card. I'm liking what they have over there. But we'll talk about that later. Let's start off first. Easy. All right, that's the code you guys are going to want to use if you want to use DraftKings this weekend. I don't have a code myself, and if I did, I'd be using yours, man. But let's start off. You're the guest. Tell me quickly, first of all, what is your favorite play to target on PrizePicks this week?
my favorite play to target on Prize Picks this week might upset a certain rainbow haired fan base because I like the under on Sean O'Malley's fantasy score. I just
Oh,
feel like, I picked Holy and Paiva versus Sean O'Malley, so
I
I'm
remember that.
definitely picking Pedro Munoz versus Sean O'Malley. And it's not that I hate the guy or anything. It's just this is a huge step up for him. Pedro Munoz is legit. Pedro Munoz got those leg kicks that I want to see how Sean O'Malley will react to. I think Pedro Munoz, volume wise, could hang a little bit. Now, Sean O'Malley will piece him up on the feet, but those leg kicks really, man, that'll be the deciding factor. And if, a big if, Pedro Munoz throws in a takedown or two, he is pretty good on the ground as well.
Okay.
So there's a lot of factors that we still need to see in O'Malley's game against these top guys. So I'll take a shot at the under here.
Okay. I mean, I've seen nothing but love for Sean O'Malley, and I get it. He's a hype
Yeah,
train. One thing I will acknowledge, though, is that huge anthropomorphic advantage for Sugar Sean O'Malley, the height, the reach. How
yeah,
do you think that Munoz takes care of that? Do you think he just closes in with those leg kicks that he's known for and tries to go for those takedowns?
yeah. I'm kind of hoping like it's a Cheeto Vera situation again, where he just
Okay.
catches that leg once or twice. Because I did have Cheeto Vera that night on DraftKings, and it was a really good night because he was super cheap. And we'll talk about DraftKings a little later. But Pedro Munoz, I'm just playing the upside here, and I'll let Sean O'Malley prove me wrong once again.
All right. Well, I don't always like playing unders here on Prize Pick, but I'm going to go with another one for my first one of the day. I'm going to take Robbie Lawler to go
Nice.
under in his. And I mean, if you guys don't know, I am on the dog here on Brian Barberena. We like Robbie Lawler, but he is on a 1-4 skid. That one win coming against Nick Diaz in what was a pretty weird fight. But I mean, if we just look at his numbers, this guy isn't one who consistently goes out there and puts out big DraftKings and fantasy point numbers. Not really a takedown guy, not much control time, and doesn't really throw out that much volume. I mean, he other than his last Nick Diaz performance, he hasn't hit above his over since he fought Hendricks in a
Wow.
5-round decision. He only scored 88 points in a 5-round decision. Before that, scored 79 points in a fifth round TKO. I mean, the guy just doesn't put up much fantasy score. He's got kind of a lower output in that reason. And for that reason, I don't think he hits it here in a 3-round fight. I think it's be Brian Barberena to win the fight in the first place. So I'm going to take the under on Robbie Lawler. But there's definitely a lot of fun things to look at here. I'm looking at some fight time props, right? We got the PFL here. I don't know if you're going to talk about any of that, but I'm going to go down here and the first play I'm looking at for fight time is going to be in the main event. I'm actually taking the under on Israel Adesanya in the main event. I purely just think that he's a level above of Cannonier in terms of the striking, and he's just going to be able to hit this target more often than not. Cannonier has not been necessarily perfect. I mean, he's done really, really well in the past, has shown to be durable, but I think it's just way too good of a matchup for Adesanya. Cannonier stays pretty static and is able to walk people down, but if you're going to be the one to stand in front of Adesanya and take his beating for 25 minutes, I do think that Izzy knocks you out. And at the same time, the win condition for Cannonier is a right hook over top that knocks him down, right? So give me the under either way. Is there anything else you like on PrizePicks?
Yeah, I'd agree with that Adesanya take because personally, I do have Adesanya under 76 significant strikes because I feel like Adesanya will take him out within the first 3 rounds, and that 76 will not hit. I mean, Adesanya low key has barely been hitting that 77 anyway. So in a matchup where I expect him to finish, I would take that under 76.5. But you can't pair the same person on the same ticket. So I'll give y'all one more, and I'm going under on another hype train, Ian Gary,
Oh,
fantasy
wow.
at 81.5 because I like Gabe Green, and Gabe Green is going to push a nice pace. He does have volume. I mean, he hits 6.28 significant strikes per minute. He's landing at about 44%, but we saw Jordan Williams tag up Ian Gary for a little bit. So if Jordan Williams was able to do it, I think Gabe Green can get in there. And if Ian Gary takes them down, Gabe Green is pretty good at getting back up, and the volume might play a big factor here because he's outlanding him per like almost 2 strikes per minute. So I'll take a shot on that.
Yeah, I have to go the other side of you there. I do think that in terms of the PrizePicks play, I completely agree. I think the under is the way to go. But if we're picking a winner, I know we'll talk about this later in DFS. I am on the Ian Gary side this week. I think that he doesn't go out there and look like this huge prospect, but I think he goes out there and touches up Gabe Green for 3 rounds. I mean, I think he's going to have a distinct striking advantage, and both these guys have defensive liabilities for days. I mean, both these guys get hit, but we've seen Ian Gary be able to take a bit, and I think that he's going to have the striking, the technicality advantage as well. So I do think he wins, but I also agree. I don't think he goes out there and blows him out of the water and knocks him out or anything. So I do like the under on the fantasy score. We'll give you one last one. I'm not liking any of the takedown props. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
But what I will say is I'm going to take the under on Robbie Lawler once again. But no, I was going to take see, I was thinking about this one. So, of course, I took out the limit here. But I'm looking at Robbie Lawler under 73.5. Same reason I like the under in the fight time, but also the under Andre Muniz, just because of how potent he's been on the ground, right? And I mean, we look at everything we picked so far. That's all been unders, which is not great. So let's take an under here again. Andre Muniz, 18.5 significant strikes. And the reason I say that is because his path to victory isn't striking. It's snapping another guy's arm off. I mean, this guy's an absolute killer on the ground. There's no denying that. I absolutely love his BJJ skill set. So I think he goes out there and finishes Uriah Hall early. I know Uriah Hall's never been subbed, but no matter how low the line is, he's going to go for submissions way more than he goes for strikes. And he hasn't hit that number quite too often recently. So there's one more to throw at you.
Sure. There's a first time for everything, and I mean, we saw Muniz sub Jacare Souza, so
badly, violently.
I'm pretty sure Jacare is a better grappler than Uriah Hall, but yeah, I like that. It is. I just noticed we did take a bunch of unders this week, but the unders do feel good. And do you sometimes go through this little thing where you're kind of like you just more inclined to take overs than unders?
Sometimes,
yeah,
you just have to. Anyways, closing out prize pick, we're taking the under on Andre Bernice, under on Robbie Lawler strikes, under on Ian Gary fantasy score, under on Israel Adesanya significant strike, under on Israel Adesanya fight time, under on Robbie Lawler fantasy score, and under on Sean O'Malley fantasy score. Once again, if you guys are using PrizePicks and signing up for the very first time, make sure you use code EAZY. So let's get the next one in here. We're going to slide over some underdog. One that I know we don't have a coach for that one, but we're not as necessarily familiar with, but there are some good spots this week. Before we do, Prince of Mischief, what's up? Thank you for hanging out with us on a beautiful Tuesday night. I mean, I looked over a few of them to start, but you're the guest. Take the floor. What is your very first play on Underdog this week?
All right, I think we've done enough under, so I'll take Sean Strickland on Rivals to go over significant strikes versus Alex Pereira. Mainly because the way Sean Strickland fights. And if he mixes in takedowns, that'll help his case too, because they're giving him a 3.5 advantage as well. So as long as he stays within Alex Pereira and the significant strikes just stays in his face, throwing that jab, occasional 1-2, just be in his face, and when he takes him down too, the significant strikes will definitely go his way if he could land a couple takedowns, ground and pound, and all of that. So I'll take a shot at Sean Strickland, especially with a 3.5 advantage as well.
For sure. Yeah. I think that's been the most contested matchup of the week. It's a super fun matchup, but I do agree that Strickland does have a certain path to victory, but it's going to be hard. You're going to be fearing for your life because Alex
Oh,
Pereira has some power.
oh,
I'm on the rival side. I'm looking at Driscus Duplessis on the takedowns. I mean, this guy's an explosive finisher. We know how good PrizePicks' takedown defense is, but if Duplessis doesn't seem to have the same success on the feet, he probably will go for those takedowns. I don't mind him to definitely win that battle there, but I'm on the over-unders this week. Of course, we can take the under on Robbie Lawler once again. We can completely fade this man. But I don't know. Something is telling me this week to look at the under on Adesanya, but also on Volkanovski. I mean, 145 significant strikes, no matter how much output, no matter how much of a classic these guys always fight at, 145 is a super, super high number for it.
that's a lot.
And we've seen Alexander Volkanovski in his last fight just become more patient. I mean, he didn't go out there and look for the finish necessarily right away. As he took his time, he took his shots. He's been very technical, and I just think it's gonna be a super fun fight that just slightly edges the number. I mean, it's always risky. I know there's probably better plays than that if we were to look at other stuff, such as again. Jessica Rose Clark on her significant strikes over, but I think that the over at 145. Every time you see a number that big, it kind of just catches my eye. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, he hit the over in the first fight with Holloway, but in the second one he was more calculated, only hitting 137. So it's priced perfectly, but I'm just gonna go slightly right there. But there's three more plays. You got anything else to add on Underdog Fantasy this week?
Yeah, I agree with that Volkanovski take. And on rivals, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say this is my favorite pick, but you're giving me a plus 24.5 advantage for Pedro Munoz and Sean O'Malley. I gotta take a small stab at that. I mean, 24 and a half,
Okay.
that's almost 25 significant strike advantage. That's a lot. I'm
Yep, and that's going to be completely up to Pedro Munoz to close that distance because Sean
yeah,
O'Malley definitely is good
it's,
at
it's
throwing out that volume.
definitely
And if he
yeah, go ahead.
for sure, I was just gonna say if he does go for those takedowns, I mean it's set even right now. That's something that would definitely be decent for him. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of it, but if he's gonna land those significant strikes to keep it close, I also think that the takedowns will keep it close as well. But those anthropomorphic advantages for Sean O'Malley, man, those are scary. But
Oh,
I like the way you're targeting it, man. I know you're definitely fading the colored hair this week.
yep, I'm just taking some Homer Simpson shots right now.
All right, man.
If it
Well,
works out, then it'll look good on the bank account.
for sure, man, for sure. And hey, all credit to you. I've seen nothing but love for Sean O'Malley. And I mean, he is the sugar show. He is getting a lot of love. And I may be on his side as well, but it's finally nice to see someone taking a stand and figuring out what side they want to be on this one. But without further ado, let's move on to the final play of the week. No, we might go cover some DraftKings after this as well, but we're looking on Thrive Fantasy. And as always, as you see on this line right below me right here, if you guys are signing up for Thrive for the very, very first time, make sure you use code Gordo, 100% deposit bonus, and a $20 ticket or tickets, depending on how much to deposit. But no, again, on Thrive Fantasy, as always, there's always less players because they have that the emergency backup as well, and they always like to limit the field. So in this one, we're only looking at 4 fights for right now. They might add some more. Actually 5, sorry. They're only looking at 5. So we got to make sure we really pick our spots. And you're the guest. I will let you go first. What is your favorite play of the week?
Well, I got 2 plays written down, and I know you already like one of them, so I'll just give my other play. It's Alex Pereira over 45.5 significant strike percentage.
Okay.
Now, they do that little percentage thing to throw you off a little bit. So once the fight's over and Pereira has like 50 significant strikes, but 44%, then you might be complaining to support. So be very careful when you're picking your props if it says significant strikes or percentage. But the way Sean Strickland fights, Alex Pereira could easily land 60% of his significant strikes because Strickland doesn't move his head. He's just right there to be hit. So as long as Pereira's on target, which he's pretty good at being on target, that should cash easily. I know the over number isn't the best, but When you're playing Thrive, sometimes you need those easy, like those just guaranteed picks, and then you could take some shots on some other picks.
For sure. I completely agree. And my play is a bit, let's say, technically it's riskier because you have that 70 points, but I'm a lot more confident on it. I'm taking the under on Jared Cannonier and his total knockdowns and takedowns. And I don't want to be too mean to the Killer Gorilla. I love him, but he's going to have a tough matchup ahead. I mean, facing a guy in Israel Adesanya who's known for that kickboxing, you need to be a guy who's fluid, moving around, explosive, able to take you down. And that doesn't really sit to me too much as Cannonier. Yes, he's explosive with his punches, but his movements don't always look as unpredicted as someone like Whitaker would be. And Whitaker was able to evade, stay on the outside to pick him apart. And I think that Adesanya is going to be able to do that to an even bigger extent this weekend. Adesanya is going to have the clear striking advantage, the clear distance management advantage, the clear technicality advantage. I think he goes over there and not only hits his significant strikes over, but fends off those takedowns and is able to stay on his feet for the whole duration of the fight. I think 1.5 is a bit too high. I know that his win condition for Cannonier is scoring a knockdown, but Adesanya has been pretty durable and been able to stay out of the pocket, stay at range. And then we look at the takedowns. Jared Cannonier is not necessarily a takedown guy, and Israel Adesanya has had great hips before, so the under 1.5 seems like a perfect play for me. You get that at 105 points. I love that. That is my play of the week. Like I mentioned, also like the over on Israel Adesanya. So I hit you for 2. You got one more you want to add? I know we talked about it earlier.
Well, Sean O'Malley, 40.5 significant strikes.
There you go.
Like, that's just too low. I mean, it's just way too low for Sean O'Malley. So even though I am taking a stand on the Munoz side, I got to take at least that because Sean O'Malley can hit that in the first round.
Do you know how low that is compared to other books? On Underdog, the over-under for Sean O'Malley is 105.
Wow.
It is only 40.5 on Thrive.
That's 100-point difference almost. Well, not 60-point difference.
So I think that Sean O'Malley hits this one, like, unless he goes out there and sparks Munoz, who's never been dropped in 17 of his fights. I do definitely think Sean O'Malley could knock him out near the later rounds, but 40 significant strikes only, I think, is the perfect spot, and you're getting 100 points for it. Like we mentioned, 105 projected on Underdog. Let's see what it is on PrizePicks here. Significant strike Sean O'Malley is 100.5 flat. So you're getting a 50% discount on Thrive Fantasy. Exactly. There you go. There is 4 plays. You guys only have one job to do, and that's pick one more. And we all know who I'm going to pick.
He's right at 100 points. Like, normally lines like that would be set at 70 points or something. So that's almost free.
Yeah, it's crazy how on 3 different apps we have 3 different lines completely, and I absolutely love. I was going to look at the over 100 in the first place because I do think it goes to decision, but when we're getting 40, I mean that's looking absolutely beautiful. So there we go. There is 4 more plays for Thrive Fantasy. Once again, I'll say it one last time because I'm annoying that way. GordoGambles every time you want to sign up. It'll help you get you some free money. But I mean, we have the DFS Whisperer EAZY on right now, and if we're going to talk anything about UFC, it's going to have to include a little bit of DraftKings. All right. If you guys don't know, Iron Man, you're right behind me. You know your stuff. So let's quickly talk about exactly what we're targeting this week. And as you guys know, I will have my own video out for sure on the channel shortly. But right now, this is just me and you. As you can tell, can't play DraftKings in Ontario anymore. So that's why I'm going to have a nice little ad up there. But for sure, who's your favorite plays this week? Who are you liking?
First of all, in the Iron Man, I might have a certain monk that's putting a hex on you, but we won't talk about that right now.
It is, man. Come on.
I need to get my first place back. It's been a while since I've been on top. But yeah, this week, Volkanovski, man, at 9K just feels too good to be true. Like, that's just a cash gameplay. Cash, GPP, everything, man. At 9K versus Holloway, I mean, you see it right there how he scored in both fights. And he can mix in takedowns, like you said, significant strikes. I mean, you saw on Underdog, they're projecting him for 145. Like, come on. It's just too good. It's just too good. Too good of a price tag.
See, man, you guys all know I'm a Holloway fanboy. I got the hoodie here somewhere that I'll be wearing for when I do my own video tomorrow. And whereas I love Volkanovski and Cash, I think these guys are both going to throw an absolute war that probably goes all 5. Yep. If we take away the split decision, and I know that it's like very debated, and I personally think Holloway won that. If we take away the decision points of Volkanovski, he only put up 73 last time. So at 9K, it's tough. But I definitely agree. In cash, he's there. But let's get him out of here because we all know who I'm playing. I mean, I'm not going to give too much away because I have my own video, but he's there at 7.2K. I mean, he put up 43 and 54. I mean, if you give him that win, you got 63 at 7.2K. I definitely think that he goes out there with a new mentality and is able to do very, very well. I mean, look at this score right here. We all know what he's capable of. I know he's not going to do that. I think that if you give him 10 times points, you give him his 75, you give him a win at 7.2K, he is a perfect play. And he's also got that insane durability. So decent in cash as well at 7.2K. I think you could even stack that fight. But give me a GPP play. Who are you liking in those tournaments?
I'll go a little different. I'll take Jim Miller this week at 87.
Jim Miller,
I believe. Because if he wins, I mean, that fight in general should be one of your most targeted fights on the card because 9 times out of 10 is not going to decision. Jim Miller is kill or be killed. Donald Cerrone is kill or be killed. Jim Miller, 8,700. Of course, he has about 7 minutes of gas tank, and then after that, if you're holding a Jim Miller ticket, you might be sweating it. But I think he can knock out Cowboy in the first round. Is this fight at 170, right?
It is.
Okay. Interesting, but I still like Jim Miller, man. The dude's been taking money out my pockets the last 2 times he's fought because I was on Marta and Eric Gonzalez, and he basically flatlined both of them. And I think he could flatline Cowboy Cerrone in the first round this time too.
All right. I definitely think that fight has so much volatility. It's a super weird fight. Cowboy's been out there making movies, doing 2-3 weight cuts. The guy just can't get a fight. So hopefully this fight stays on the card. I do think it's definitely really one to target. Of course, you have the narrative, them always the winner of this fight will start have the most was it wins in UFC history? Yeah, most wins in UFC history. Both absolute legends. The difference between them, I will admit, is Jim Miller's still fighting like a guy who should be winning UFC fights. Donald Cerrone's definitely fallen off a cliff. Of course, to better competition, Rono, Price, Pettis, et cetera, but hasn't won a fight since 2019. He's out there making movies, saying he doesn't want to be in there against McGregor. I do think Jim Miller maybe have more heart for this one. I do think it's a fight you definitely need to target. Again, I don't want to give out too much of what I'm playing. But we're looking at a GPP play for me. It's going to be this guy right here, 8.4K. Turner's been going out there. The Tarantula looking great, 100 points or more in his last 4 fights. I'll talk about it more, but there's definitely a lot of really good plays in this card. I'll let you do one more if you want before I get you out of here, but it's definitely a really, really fun card.
It got 8K. Dracus Duplessis. I think he can knock out Brock Tavares, if I'm being honest. I know Tavares has been pretty durable, but Dracus has some serious power in his hands, man. And like you said earlier, if the striking's not going his way, he could go for takedowns and takedowns and control time score pretty well on DraftKings.
Hey, what's the magic stat with Dracus Duplessis? It's that 100% finish rate has never been to the scorecards, right? Exactly. Guy's an absolute killer, and I think he's going a bit overlooked. Tavares, while he's had a decent showing recently, and while has shown that great takedown defense, it's not like he hasn't been knocked out. I mean, this guy has been chin checked before. Shabazian first round, Whitaker first round. I always mispronounce his name, so I'm not going to. But the guy has been chin checked, and if one thing Dracus does have is that power. His floor is absolutely insane at 8K. I love him. I'm not going to add anything more. I think if you guys want to know anything more about my DraftKings plays, check out my video tomorrow. Check out EAZY's video. I know you posted your did you post anything yet for this card?
Yeah, well, not for this card. Right now, I just posted a Wimbledon video for tennis. So that's about it. But I will post some UFC content probably Thursday night.
All right, I'll be keeping an eye on it to see exactly how you're targeting this Iron Man. I mean, I gotta look at it a bit, but no, that's gonna do it here for the Plays and Fades prop drop. Super fun video. I appreciate EAZY for coming on. Here's a chance to plug your socials. Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can just find me on YouTube, the DFS Whisperers, and Twitter at DFS Whisperers. Yeah, no D. But yeah, that's where I'm at most of the time, constantly posting content for pretty much every single sport you could think of. If they keep a score on it 9 times out of 10, I got a little bit of knowledge on it.
There you go, man. You've been absolutely killing the game, not only in the UFC scene, but everywhere else. I appreciate you coming on for once again. From my side of things, guys, I got my video that I'll be filming tomorrow. I don't think it'll be out till like Thursday night, let's say, to be safe, because it is a big card. I'm getting my boy Key Road back, so I'll be editing that video up as soon as I can. But Pub Sports Radio Wednesday night, my live stream Friday, a ton of content for you guys as always. Check out DFS content as well. That is going to do it for me here on the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, hanging out with us, and everybody watching it after the fact. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll be sure to answer them and see if we're on the same page here. Absolutely electrifying card for UFC276. So make sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel, and let's make some money, guys. Cheers.